So today I'm here with a person that you can say I look up to in all different aspects of how this person contributes to his industry. He's every time I see him on social media, he's always doing something artistic. It's just art all the way through, and I appreciate that because I think that's what makes a lot of us like passionate for what we do, and each individual has their own feeling of that passion. So thank you guys for joining in to this is Barbershop-Talk, but special edition. We got Salon-Talk today, and we have the one and only, which I'll let him introduce himself. So go ahead, take it away.
Hello, my name is Ernesto Meneses. I've been doing hair for about 20 years. I'm from Los Angeles, and I've lived in San Francisco now for about 10 years.
10 years.
And thank you for those compliments. That's like,
hey, I'm just
like, who are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, it's
I just want you to know that obviously we've come across each other's paths many times, but most of the time you're either getting a haircut, the times that I've seen you or whatever, and so we don't get to really engage much, right? We do to a certain extent.
Yeah.
This is on a different level here. With that being said, thank you for being on. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on and do this for not just me, but everyone else that will be watching this.
awesome.
Because I feel like, I know you bring value to the table. You got your own method to your madness, but I think this will be great for whoever watches it. And I kind of want to start off this whole, chat interview with why did you decide to be a hairstylist? Why did you decide to be in this industry? Like, what was there anything that triggered you or that sparked that inside of you?
So, growing up, it was really interesting because I felt like my family, I grew up in a very, so I grew up in a neighborhood called the One Ways in Norwalk, California, and it was Barrio Norwalk was very highly high gang activity and everything like that, and I tried to kind of manage my way out of that world, and it was really hard because I knew what I wanted to do, and it was fashion design or hair. And it was really hard because at that time of my life, I really couldn't talk about it to other people or around me because all the kids in the neighborhood were like, like it was like cholos, veteranos, like I was like, oh, I want to do fashion, and it was just like he's gay, So it was really hard for me at that time of my life. So I think I told everybody I wanted to be a mechanic, and I told everybody that
were you being honest or were you lying?
What was that?
Were you being honest or were you lying?
I was lying because I was still in a part of my life where I didn't know if it was okay for me to say that I wanted to be a hairdresser. Because at that time of my life, anybody who did hairdressing, anytime I would watch television with my dad, it would always be, like Sábado Gigante and things like that. And the gay character was always flamboyant. And in my head, I had processed that if I wanted to be a hairdresser, that means, to my dad, it was just like, I think if somebody was like, I want to be a mechanic, you go, oh, cool. To me, it was like, if I told my parents I wanted to be a hairdresser, they would be like, hey. And it was like me coming out to them for some reason. So I kept it a secret until I actually was a senior in high school. And I knew what I wanted to do. And I finally told my mother first that I wanted to do hair. And then she was like, okay, let me let your dad know what's up. So then she told my dad that I wanted to be a barber. And my dad was like, oh, that's cool. So then when he found out that I was doing hair, he was just like, whatever. Like, so then, I think all my struggles were in my head, and it really wasn't a thing.
God, so you find yourself overthinking it?
It was, but at that time, I had this issue of like, because there was like an underlying like I wanted to come out as well. I'm a gay male. So wanting to come out, but then not trying to say what I wanted to do, because if I said my job, and stereotypical, a lot of people, they view hairdressers in my industry. Sometimes it's like, if you do hair, it's like, oh, that guy's probably gay. Like, and
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
this underlying stereotype. I know a lot of straight hairdressers. But
Same.
at that time of my life, my personal story, I felt I couldn't even say what I wanted to do because that was me coming out. Like, and I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
ah. So
I
that
mean,
was my struggle in the beginning.
power to you because you accepted what you wanted to do. You accepted who you were and what your passion. You could say you were the that first trigger of who who you now are, um, where it kind of started, right? And then you are where you are, and you know, it's everyone has a different boat in life, right? Everyone has a different journey, and from what I'm getting from you is, sometimes like we're in a position where, especially coming, I know you're Mexican, you come from a Mexican background, and our immigrant parents sometimes they want us to be a certain thing or do a certain thing. So in order for you to kind of like eventually kind of break through, that was pretty cool. That's cool. So was there anything prior, like, so let's just say before you went into hair school, was there anything that you were like, you know what, like maybe I shouldn't, or maybe I should do this? Well, did you have a moment like that?
The only moment that I had was between the two. My first job that I wanted to do in my head was be in the service industry, and I felt like I would do a great job running a hotel. So I wanted to run a hotel. I didn't know what that job would be titled or anything, but I just wanted to work at the biggest hotel in the world and be the front guy and just kind of like welcome, So then
Yes.
that, as I got older, it ended up being I wanted to do something in the service industry because I felt like I liked to kind of help people. So then it went into fashion design, like I said earlier, and then hair had always been something that I wanted to do. So not really, there wasn't really anything that kind of stopped me from the passion. There were just like I had a road. I didn't know what the ending was, and there was all these little kind of side detours. And I would always just kind of like when you're driving on the freeway, like you turn your head to see a sign. So I would turn and be like, oh, hotel manager. Turn, oh, this is a stewardess, or I turn a flight attendant, excuse me. But then I would keep on turning, but I was still driving straight. And then finally, I realized I was like, oh shit, the end of the journey is uh, hairdressing. And not the end of the journey, but the main kind of where I'm going was hairdressing.
Yeah, the start of your, I guess you could say your start of your destination, but there's no end to it.
Yeah, and I think that that's the thing. It's like I always knew I wanted to do hair in the beginning, so there really wasn't anything that that was like stopping me. It just was. I think earlier in my career when I was thinking about it, I was like, it's like you question yourself, like, do I want to do this? Let me see if I can do something else. Let me see if something, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, I want to do it. So then I just kind of pull my pants up and push the gas.
There it is. There it is. So where did you attend school?
So I went right after high school. I looked up all these different cosmetology schools in Los Angeles, and I come from a family that we just didn't have that much money, so lower income. And all these cosmetology schools that I was looking at were like $16,000 and $20,000 just to attend. And
What year was this?
this was the year 2000.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it was a lot of Vidal Sassoon and Paul Mitchell, Tony and Guy. Like there were all these schools in Los Angeles, and I couldn't afford it. And I remember I asked my mom if like she could take out a loan, and she's like I look at you, like just take out a loan, like like I didn't even know what that even meant. I was like, take out a loan, like. So then I just did some more research, and I discovered a community college. And the community college ended up being, I think, for the kit and all, and just to go to class, it was like, I think total it might have been like 3,000. So
Wow.
I showed my mom that, and she was like, "This I can help you with." So I went there, and then I actually ended up meeting some of my friends that I still have from that community college, and yeah, that's where I started my career.
Man, that's pretty cool. I mean, I guess you could say that you didn't give up, because
No,
there were so many schools that you were looking into, and I mean, mind you, even like I can kind of relate because when I was looking for a barber college, I was like 20,000, like oh my gosh, dude, like I don't know if I can do that.
yeah,
But it kind of puts you in an uneasy position, but all your patience, I guess you could say, you had, at the same time eager to find a place to start your career. Um,
yes.
and that's cool how you were able to find that. How was it getting that support from your mom at that time?
Getting that support from my mom at that time was it was awesome. I mean, at the end of the day, I wanted to go to school. So, I mean, even if it, I don't know. I mean, at the time, I didn't look into it, but if I had to kind of work at the school in order to take classes, I would have. But having my mother and my father kind of help me out with that amount of money at the time, it was just very, I don't know, it's just very awesome. Like I don't, to be quite honest, I don't look back at that because I feel like it's so far away. But no, to look back at that, it's like, I don't know what their monetary situation was at that time because I was living in my kind of world. So to look back at that moment and see them pay for that, it was very special because it was just like they see what I want to do and they took care of it. And yeah, and I don't know if they were broke at that time or whatever that was because they obviously wouldn't talk about money to me, but
Yeah, of course.
they made it work, and yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
really
think
very blessed.
uh, parents, mother and father, I think sometimes they do things for us that maybe we don't really know the full story, but they do it just because they got love for you. So uh,
There was a show that I saw, and I think it kind of said it perfectly, and it was basically like when you're a kid, and your parents try really hard to kind of uh, keep that world for you. Like the moment you find out how much rent is and how much they have to go through this, like your world, like it's you kind of like your world starts like you're an adult. So I think at that time they were trying to help me like not focus on that. It was like enjoy being a kid right now. Like you don't have to worry about that. Like the moment you turn 18, it's gonna, game on.
correct,
So I
correct.
felt like they kept those early childhood moments magical, And in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, we had pizza every Friday night. But if I look back at it, it's like it was like Little Caesars. It was like $5 for a large pizza. But
Still,
at that but at that time, it was like it was about the moment with it
that's
with
right.
it.
That's right.
It wasn't money. It was just like yeah. I would tell my friends like, oh, we have pizza every Friday. It's like they didn't know it was $5.
For real. Uh, Shout out to your parents, by the
Oh
way.
yeah, hell yeah. My God, they're amazing.
Um,
Thank you.
yes. So you started school, right? You started hair school.
Yes.
What person would you say in the length of your schooling as a hairdresser, what person do you remember the most that kind of probably had the most influence or most impact during your schooling?
It was actually funny because I had a lot of teachers that helped me out, and I knew all the teachers were fantastic. I had teachers I hated. I had teachers I liked. I had teachers that were amazing. I had teachers that like sucked. I had the whole gamut. And from that experience, I always try to find the positive in it. Like if I'm having a class with somebody who's really crappy, like a crappy teacher, I'm just like, look, they're a teacher. There's probably something about them that they're teaching me that I don't even know. So I'm looking and I'm like, oh, they suck, but they're dressed really nice, so I'll dress nice. I always try to find something.
Positive.
You might get a teacher that they walk in and they look a mess, but then everything coming out of their mouth is amazing. So I think I never did judge a book by its cover. It's whatever. I can always learn something from anybody, anyone. And even if it's not to do what they're doing, that's a lesson. So I
Yeah.
feel, um, to be quite honest, the one person throughout my career that kind of has inspired me and pushed me was actually one of the students that I enrolled with, and that was my best friend Colette. So we started school at the same time, and sitting across from her and watching her in that same kind of level, as far as like she wanted the same things that I wanted, um, and she had that same drive. So coming to school every day and seeing her was the thing that kind of pushed me and inspired me. So it wasn't necessarily a teacher, it was a student that helped me kind of see that passion and kind of, just ignite it and kind of keep it moving forward. So I would say my friend Colette, but yeah, we started at the same time. Like, so it wasn't somebody who had 20 years. It was somebody who had one day, you know?
That's pretty cool. And yeah, you're right. You know, you have like when you go into any school, any college or anything of a teaching background, you run into the people that will approach you in a way where you understand. People that sometimes it's hard to understand. Sometimes you kind of don't feel as comfortable with certain people. But then I feel like there's like for you it was Colette. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
For you was Colette, and that person marked your journey, I guess, through schooling. So that's pretty cool. That it was a student. It wasn't necessarily someone that like a teacher or anything of that nature. Um, was there a moment in hair school that it was challenging? Like, was there a moment where you were like, man, like whether if it was a subject or a topic of your course or something where you were just like, I really, this is giving me a super hard time. I'm having really like trouble understanding this.
I felt like there were like there wasn't really a moment where it was like too frustrating, because it's like, for me personally, again, it's like it's a topic that you want to learn and you want to study. So I think it was like I pushed myself to kind of understand it. I felt like the struggles that I had were maybe like I would turn and then somebody's was like better than mine, and I was just like, oh, like what am I doing? Like I think I'm understanding it, but I turn and my friend Colette's doing it better, so I'm just like, I pues. But I think I would say it was like that. It wasn't major frustrations, but it was those little kind of those little frustrations that you can turn, and but even those little frustrations, it's like if they build up, then you could kind of be in a negative place. So I felt like managing those and kind of understanding, like, it's like I'd be like, girl, it's your first month, like it's gonna look ugly, like, I mean, if it looks amazing, like open a salon, but I mean, it's gonna look ugly, so don't beat yourself up, and you got it. Like, just show up every day, and it'll click. So I felt like those were my little struggles. Like,
Right.
a moment where I was like, ah,
Yeah.
but at the same time too, it'd be like I'd walk into class and it'd be like, oh, today you're gonna do a chemical relaxer, and I'd be like, what? So it was like those scary moments. Like I'd be like, I don't want to. Oh my god! Like, so I
That's
would say
something
like stuff
else.
like
um, and thank you for sharing that. So what was okay, since I just asked you, if you had any like struggles understanding some things and some topics when you were in high school,
that.
what is or what was your most favorite part of hair school? Where you were like, oh, like I'm so happy we're doing this today, or I'm so happy that that's going on this week.
Think it was, to be honest, it was every day. Like every day, I loved going to school. I think it was one of those things where it was like in high school, there was classes that I really liked, and it was like history, art, ecology, like chemistry. Like there was all these different like subjects that I liked. But then when it was like, oh, we're gonna like PE, I hated PE. Like,
I was just gonna ask you, did you like PE?
oh my god, whenever like oh, we're gonna go and wear shorts. I'm like, I don't wear shorts. Like, so I
Did
was
you
just like,
pass PE, or were you
there's
one
like,
of those people that didn't pass PE?
no, I honestly didn't. I ended up
Oh my goodness.
bribing my PE teacher, so she gave me an A.
Oh my gosh. Uh, so you did hair school. You finished hair school.
Yeah.
What was that moment like when they call you up and then they tell you you passed? you're a licensed cosmetologist. What
So
was
it's
that
really
like?
funny. So that moment when I took my license at the state board, it was actually very. I think that was the most stressful moment because I walked in. You have your binder, you open it. There's all these procedures, and I used my mom as my model.
Oh wow,
Yeah, so
that's pretty cool.
my
That's
mom,
pretty cool.
my mom came in and she was my model, and you use shaving cream instead of hair color. So I'm just doing a root touch up, and then I go and I clean up my station, and I walk to the sink, and on the loudspeaker it's attention students. There's a model in the shampoo area washing her own hair, and we need we need to figure that out. And immediately I turn, and it's my mother, and she had decided to she didn't like the shaving cream in her hair, so she just leaned over the shampoo bowl and was just wetting her hair, and water was everywhere. And I immediately at that moment I thought I was going to lose my license. And oh my god, it was probably the most stressful time. Like I felt like a knot in my stomach. I was mortified. I was so embarrassed because everybody's looking at me, like all these people that are coming in. And I just walk up to her, I grab my towels, I wipe up the floor. She's talking to me about the woman, like she's like all like, who's this bitch telling me I can't wash my own hair? And I'm like, mom, just calm down. Like, I don't need this attitude right now. So I put a towel on her, dry her off, sit her down, go back to the sink, clean it up, and then I finished my day. And I ended up passing that first time because the teacher saw how I handled the situation. So
Yeah.
she saw me clean, emptied the towels. Everybody else had tons of towels, but I did the same. I used one towel on my mom for the rest of the day. And the teacher was just kind of looking at me, and she saw that I was very sanitary. I took care of everything. So that was my first day. So when they called my name, I immediately walked up, signed my name, got the certificate, and my mom was like, "Oh, let's get a picture of you." And I was like, "No, bitch! Like if they messed up,
Oh my
I
gosh.
was like, if they messed up, I want to be in the car already going home. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to have to come back and just
So
like
would you say that if you would have not passed, you would have been upset at your mom?
if I had not passed, I would have been upset at my mother. I think I would have. Yeah, because I had studied really, really, really good for it. So I think that was the thing. It was something that was like out of my control.
Yeah.
Like you prepare and you practice all of it, but you don't assume that your model's gonna wash their own hair. So when it happened, I literally was just like I remember I paused and I looked around and everybody's looking at me like, what the, and I was like, no, this is what's happening right now. So figure it out.
Oh my goodness. I can only imagine. I can only imagine because right now that you're telling me, I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
no, and I had to figure it out. Like I wasn't like, I just was like, this is what's happening. I don't think I ever talked to my mom like that ever. Like I was like I literally grabbed her by the shoulders and I was like, sit down. And she like looks at me and I was like, no, like we're not talking right now. Like you're gonna listen, and this is what it is.
Uh,
Yeah. So it was, yeah, that first day was rough.
so the feeling of getting your license, I'm sure you were extremely grateful.
Extremely grateful. It was extremely grateful, and then I think at that exact moment it was scary
Yeah.
because school's over. School's fun, and the moment it's over, it's just like it's like that's when you have to put in the work. So I felt like more. So I felt like it was a very scary situation for me. So I felt like, was school scary? Was there a frustrating moment? No. Was it frustrating and scary the moment after I got my license? Yeah, because I was like, what salon do I want to work at? What do I want to do? What kind of team do I want? I didn't know any of these things. So and gonna date myself. This was way before I could even Google anything. So this was like I couldn't just sit at my house and type stuff and look at salons and look at Yelp reviews. I had to actually go to these places. have a piece of paper, write stuff down, meet with people, shadow at different salons, and find salons that I wanted to work at. Now I could easily type a salon, look at who works there, go to their Instagram. I can see if I like what the people are doing, what their work looks like, because then I'm like, oh, I could work with that team. But before, I didn't know anything. I literally was like, I hope this works, and I would start at a salon that I thought looked good and hope for the best.
Yeah, that makes sense. Was your first salon that you worked at in LA?
Yeah. So we went to a school that was 3,000, and then my friend Colette, my friend Lewis, and myself decided that even though we went to a school that was 3,000, we wanted to work at a salon that was the $20,000 schools. So we drove straight into Beverly Hills and just went into every salon and did tours. So did tours, this and this, and my first salon that I went. My first salon that I went to was actually Vidal Sassoon. And I went to the salon, I applied, and they had just hired my friend Colette. So she got hired there. And then I had went there and I brought my folder and everything. And the owner was just like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm looking at your folder and it's a lot of hairdressing. So at that time I was doing hairdressing, like hairstyling and things. And she was like, there's a salon up the street, and I apologize, my husband just got home. There's a salon up the street, and they do hairdressing, and it's all kind of older people that used to work here at Vidal Sassoon. So I was like, that sounds cool. So I ended up getting in the car and drove down to that salon, and that salon was called Planet Salon in Beverly Hills. And I went and I applied. And the owner walked up to me and she was like, they just called from Sassoon. They said that we need to hire you. So I'm going to go ahead and hire you just because they were already going to hire you.
Wow.
So I don't need to interview you, because if they were going to hire you, I want to hire you. So that was a really fast interview. I walked in and I was like, she's like, you got the job if you want it. And I was like walking around looking at all these people, and I was nervous because they were just like,
first day of school.
Well, it was like first day of school, and it's Beverly Hills, so it was all bougie. And I'm walking in looking all like nacono, like just like hair's all messed up, and
El nopal en la frente.
yeah, like I'm there with like just like yeah. So I was a little nervous, but then yeah, no, I got the job and I showed up about 3 days later.
How long were you there? Your time working there. How long?
I was working at that salon for about 9 years.
9 years.
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness, that's a long time.
It is.
And those 9 years, what was that like? What was it like? What was that like?
It was amazing. Those 9 years taught me everything that I am, who I am now as a stylist. So I felt like working at that salon, it taught me structure, it taught me timing, it taught me just kind of like to push myself. I did a lot of stage shows with the manager. She worked for Aveda, so there was a lot of my first time. I was like in Minnesota. I was on stage in front of like 10,000 people doing hair for her. She couldn't teach classes, so like if she was too booked, I would be her assistant. So then she would be like, "Hey, I can't go to Arizona, but do you think you could go?" And I talked to this owner, and I'm going to take off, $1,000 from this class if you want to teach it. And she's open to it. So then I would fly out there and teach a class. And it was a good opportunity for me just because I think at that moment in my career, and still who I am now, it's like if somebody says something like hair related, like, hey, do you want to do this? It's always yes. Granted, if you tell me, hey, do you want to go for a 10-mile hike? I might say yes, or I might say no. But if it's hair related, it's always going to be yes.
Right on. So after those 9 years, did you move to SF right after that?
No. So after those 9 years, I ended up going to Rancho Cucamonga. My grandparents were sick. So it was an opportunity for me to go back home and help out with the family. So I moved back. I was going through some personal stuff at that time too. So it was a good opportunity for me to kind of take a little bit of a moment. So when I took that little break, it was about like 6 months. I actually stopped doing hair. I was kind of just in my head. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. So I decided to take 6 months off, and I had an opportunity to take that time off because I could move back home. So I did that, and then at that time, it was my grandparents were sick, and they were living with us, and they were about to pass away. So stayed with them, and then I wanted to do hair again, and I the drive to Los Angeles was a little far, so I decided to work at a salon in the Inland Empire, and I worked at a salon for about 8 months, and it was in Rancho Cucamonga. So that was interesting because what the first day I walked into there, oh my god, it was just like you had all these people. Like it's like, oh my god, you're from Beverly Hills, and I'm like, yeah, bitch, but I'm not like, yeah, I'm cool. Like, like don't make it a thing. Like, don't tell anybody. And then all of a sudden, it was just like I had people hate me, I had people like me, but when it comes to something like I'm passionate about, and if somebody's in the room that hates me, I try my hardest to stay focused on my work.
Yeah.
I try to kind of like I'm like, you know,
Kind of like those visors on the horses where they just
I
kind
just hate me from across the street. Just like if you want to work, work. Like
of well, I admire that you took a break and you were able to kind of go and take care of your grandparents. I think that's admirable, because I think it's easy for us to kind of be selfish, where we're like, why do I need to go be with my family right now? This is about me, right?
yeah,
So
and I want to emphasize too. It's like at that time of my life, I had um, I normally don't share this at all, but I wanted to share it just in case there's somebody out there that's kind of going through that same situation. But at that time of my life, um, in my that career span, it was like I had a little bit of an issue with substance abuse. So towards the end of my career in Beverly Hills, I was going through some issues with that. So I didn't understand it. I was just like, I think I can control this, and I just couldn't. So my best bet was to stop it and move back home, and then kind of get a better understanding of like what's going on. And I did get a better understanding of what's going on, but that story within my story, it took a little longer. Like there was always good moments, but it's always been a little bit of a part of my life. So
yeah,
like I always have to kind of be on top of it.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I think well, thank you for sharing, because that's something that's very intimate and very personal, and I appreciate it, just like I'm sure anyone who's gonna watch this appreciates it. Um, and so when you went through that moment, um, and you came out the other side per se,
Yeah.
how did that feel? Where you were like, wow, like I'm here now, and you were able to kind of, I guess you could say, took that next step forward, and you realized that you were maybe you were a lot stronger than you thought you were.
It was a little hard for me because I always did this thing where I knew I loved hair. I wanted to do hair. So I would always separate the two. I would always show up to work, and then I would always, on my day off, be a mess. So it was always these two worlds. They never intertwined. I always managed that. So I felt like a lot of people, if they do come to work and you're kind of like messed up or like messy, it's something that is like it can happen right away. Like the manager's like, no, and it's like in your face. For me, it was so blurred that I think I ended up kind of hurting myself more because there was no moment of like, girl, this is the problem. I was always trying to manage it. So I felt like it ended up kind of stretching out. And I think that that's the thing. It's like, yeah, but I would always show up to work. I was always on time. And I think that was the funny thing. It's like one of my managers was always like I got pulled into the office one time and she was just like, this is really hard. And I was like, why? And she's like, you're always, you're like one of the best workers. And then on the other end of it, it's like, like you've called out a couple times. So it's like, we're having this meeting because of these call outs. However, you're the best worker. Like your numbers are here, everything's great, da 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 da. So this is weird for me. And I've had that conversation, to be honest with you, I've had a conversation about 2 times at 2 different salons because of that track record. I was always trying to kind of maintain it, kind of have it be a part of me. And it was just like, this is tiring. So that's when I decided, I was like, I have to clean this, I have to clean it up. So
Yeah.
then I got, sober.
Right on. Right on. And I think you know, at least from what I'm seeing is that you were able to recognize, right, your habits,
Yeah.
get to the point where you know that you needed to kind of make time for yourself.
Yes.
You could say self-love, right?
Yeah.
uh and I think that's powerful because and not just in hairdressing, barbering, hairstyling, anything of that nature. Like, we all have our demons. We all have our demons, and you were able to kind of, I'm sure it took a lot of strength, I'm sure it took a lot of like reflecting, and but you were able to do it. And I think
Yeah.
that's
At the end of
powerful.
the day, too, it's like my demons are still there. They're always going to be there. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's like, I have my angels here, my demons there. And I'm just like, let's go forward. Let's make sure, you
Of
know,
course.
let's
And
be friends.
uh you I guess you could say a balance.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's definitely because it's never something that goes away. It's always something that's always behind the back of my head, and I just have to be aware of it. And like things like this, like talking about it, I think that that's something that's like it always puts it on the spotlight.
Right on.
So it's
Right.
like you never forget.
Thanks for sharing. I do appreciate that sincerely. um so so would it be like after all that, then you decided to move to SF?
So not after all that, I decided to move to SF. I was like, you know what, um, Los Angeles, that's the problem, not
uh,
me.
okay.
So I moved to SF.
Okay.
But with that said, what I was talking about earlier is when I applied here to a salon and saw everything about me and all of that, whenever I would show up to an interview, whenever I walked in, my main goal was to look expensive. Like I wanted to walk in and I wanted to be the one where it's like, hey, does this guy own the salon? Like, so when I walked in, the owner, it was actually Cinta Salon. She was just like, we want to hire you. And it's funny because I still have stories about like some of the stylists that used to work there, and they were like, yeah, oh my god, that first day that you walked in, you had like a flower in your jacket, and you had like a suit coat on, and you walked in, and my hair was slicked back, and I dressed up. They were like, we thought you were gonna go to the prom, and I was like, no, bitch, like.
Oh man. So
So that's the thing. So I moved here and got that job.
right on. What was that transition like leaving LA? You're now in NorCal, leaving SoCal. Now you're in NorCal. This is new turf for you, I'm assuming.
That was rough. Yeah, because I mean, it was like growing up in Los Angeles. I mean, it was just like East LA culture, lowriders and things like that, and then working in Beverly Hills, and it was like super fancy and all of that. And then that was my personal life too. It's like I would go work in Beverly Hills, and then when I would go with my friends, it was always at some like hot rod kind of bar. All these cars racing, like rockabillys, just so it was basically saying goodbye to a lot of my life. Like, because that culture, when I moved here, like all my friends, I was like, where are all the like, psychobilly, rockabillys? Where's the greasers? Like nobody was here.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, well, I can focus on work. And then when I went to work, I was just like, it was weird because I was like, where are all the Beverly Hills girls? Like, like, so that was a little interesting. So yeah, the first year coming here was really hard because I was just like, yeah. And then when I moved here, I think the first time I moved here, it was like raining and it was like foggy. And I think I was wearing, I forgot what I was wearing, but I was just like, oh my God, I fucked up. Like this sucks. Like, 'cause everybody looks like a farmer. I was like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then it changed.
right on. So you've been in SF for how many years now?
I've been in SF now for 10 years.
10 years.
I think
So
I say 10 years, but I think it might be 11, but around that
okay.
time.
Okay, so you could say you half of your career has been in LA and half of your career has been in SF.
100%. And I tell everybody, um, how do I say it? I tell everybody I was born in Los Angeles, but I grew up in San Francisco.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Why do you
so I
say that?
feel like when I was in LA, I was in LA. You probably wouldn't be my friend. My husband, I would have never have met him in LA because I
Yeah,
was super vapid and it was like a different person. And I think moving here, it taught me to kind of open up a bit more and be who I am today. And I think that that's I love the fact that it took a couple took about 3 years honestly to look down the street and be like, I like living here. I don't love it. I like it, but but wait, and then after a while, it became love. So
right on,
yeah.
right. Uh, so between 10 and 11 years now in SF, what has it been like being a hairdresser, hairstylist in SF? Because I know that, like you said, like the cultures have been very different regarding, like you were in Beverly Hills, you come out here, it's more business based, tech based, all this other stuff. Um, how has that been like regarding um, the people that you work with and maybe your clients that you see? What have you found very fulfilling in being part of SF and the community that you're part of?
I think again, it's always. I used to work with hairdressers that would always be like, oh, we work in Beverly Hills, and this is where hair's at, and everything like that. And then it's really interesting because it's like now with like what technology's doing and everything like that, it's like it really doesn't matter where you work. Like you could work in a salon in like the middle of Kansas, and if you're doing really good work, people can find it and
Yeah,
see it and all that
100%.
good stuff. So I think that's the thing. It's like it's transition to I could work at a salon in Half Moon Bay and still post all the photos that I post, charge what I charge, and things of that sort. And people will drive over and pay it, or I might have to drop my prices. But I felt like it changed. It changed for me when I moved this way because it was just like a different world. I was like, oh wow, So I felt like I think that was the question. I'm answering it right, but yeah, no. When I moved here, it just kind of I would always tell everybody it's like you can make anywhere Beverly Hills because they would always use Beverly Hills as like the place. And I was like, you can make anywhere Beverly Hills as long as you have the passion for it and you like put that drive into it. Like it's always people like, oh, I want to work in New York and this and this. And I'm like, why? Like, ugh. Like my husband loves New York and I love New York. I've been there twice, but I don't know. Every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't live here. Maybe. He's right there behind me.
New York is definitely interesting. It's I've only been there once, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. And
I like looking at I don't know, I like going for a drive and having it be green. Every time I'm
yeah,
over there, I'm like, everybody looks sad and I don't know. I get it, New York, I love it, all that business, but I'm not trying to make everybody mad. Like, go New York, but I just not for me.
no, I hear you. I hear you. Uh, SF has welcomed Ernesto, and now how many salons have you been a part of? Have you been a part of here in SF?
So, one, two, one, two, three, three.
Okay, right
I
on.
worked at Cinta, and then I moved to a salon called Chakra, and then I moved to a salon called Satana.
Right on.
Yeah,
Right. Uh, three different salons.
all with the letter C.
Oh, let's see. uh, I like. I know in within I'm specifically talking about your industry. There's people that focus strictly on color, strictly on haircutting. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you do both.
I do both. Not originally. I focused more on hair cutting.
Okay,
And then over time, when I actually moved to San Francisco, I noticed everybody was doing both, and it kind of intrigued me. So I dabbled my foot into it, and that's where I'm at now. So I wouldn't say that I'm a colorist. I can do color. I can do color, and I do have fun, and I do have clients that love what I do. But as far as like pushing myself into that realm, like taking more classes and kind of doing that, like I really haven't. I more focus on the hair cutting side of it still. But it's like if you need a root touch up, I'm on it. You know, I can do the basics of it. So I feel like that's where I'm at.
Gotcha. Because at least for me, right? I'm a barber, so it was hard for me to really like. I'm like, what is the difference? Because I would see salons, right? You got, whatever name and then salon, whatever name, salon.
Yeah.
But then you go in, and I think it's because of my sisters and my cousin, and they go in like they're like, oh, I went in there just for a hair color, but I get my hair cut over here. So I was just confused because but I get it now. But I'm like, is there people that are cosmetologists that don't like hair color but they love cutting, and they love cutting but they don't like hair color?
Yes. So in Los Angeles when I started, it was departmentalized. So when you walked into the salon, everybody on the left did hair cutting and everybody on the right did
Oh
color.
wow.
That's all they did. Nobody mixed in. So if you saw me for a cut, then you went over to see my friend for color, and we worked as a team. So it was always departmentalized. Like that's what it was. And then when I moved up here, I realized everybody did both. There were people that worked at Cinta that just did the one. Um, so when I started, I had a client. She was like, "I want highlights," and I would look around the salon to see who did the best highlights, and then I would partner up with them. I'd say, "Hey, I have a client for you."
Gotcha. Right on.
But it was really nerve wracking because I knew that that person did haircuts too.
Yeah.
So when I like give them a client, I'm looking at them and going like, "Girl, I'm gonna give you this client, but at the same time, I don't want you to steal this bitch," because I was like, I'm gonna, like, don't take my money. So it was rough. I didn't trust a lot of people, so I would always have to kind of. And then I found some friends, like my good friend Maritza. I remember I like walked up to her and I was like, "Do you ever want to cut hair?" And she was like, "No," and I was like, "Okay, cool." So then I like would give her my clients because I was like, "I don't want you taking my paycheck."
Yeah,
And that's
that's
how we
so
became good
funny.
friends. And lately now she's learning how to cut hair, and that's what it is. But at the time I was like, I'm over here passing out clients and they're taking them, and I'm just like, hell no, I'm not. I'm done with that. So I ended up walking up like people in the elevator. I'll be like, do you want to just do color? Like,
That's hella funny. Uh, Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. So, what what would you say, right? Your time being in SF, as a hairstylist, hairdresser. Um, you know, I know, and because I see this, I know you. I feel like you really indulge in the artistic side of it. Like you when you're doing hair, like you're like positioning the hair where you want it to be. You're shaggy, and I can't say it, but you're like you shag it, and you place it, and like, what is that feeling like? Taking care of your clients here. Now that you're in SF, what is that feeling like where you're able to kind of just have fun and just like just and have your clients also be willing enough to like let you do you, on them.
it's interesting because I mean, when somebody gives you when somebody sits in my chair and they say, "I want you to do you and do whatever you want," immediately I'm just like, I don't trust you. I don't know who you are. I immediately get this like, I don't like. Let's talk a little bit. So then, like having that consultation and kind of getting to know the person and understand that like what my limits are. Because at
Yeah,
the end of the day, I'm not trying to give everybody the same haircut, and then at the end of the day, I'm not trying to like do something that I want to do and the person doesn't like it. So I try my best to kind of find those spaces that I can be able to work free. Um, it's interesting because I feel like I still treat myself like I'm very modest in that sense where people will be like, "Oh my god, I love your work and this," and I'm just like, "Thank you." Like I'm like like um, so I feel like I try to do my best. I'm learning how to take compliments better. Um, I'm learning to understand that it's like, yeah, I do stuff that people like, and I've been doing it for a long time, and I'm good, So it's taken a while to kind of have that confidence to say that out loud because I feel like as an artist, I just want to do what I do and then like run away and hide in that hole until somebody like asks for something, and then I can come out and do it and then go back.
that's interesting. Interesting how you put that. in figure of speech.
Yeah, so I feel like I try to kind of stand out now and be like all like if somebody's like, I really love your work, and I'm like, thank you for the compliment. I'm very
Yeah, and
flattered.
I think
That's my like basic.
and that's probably the healthiest thing for us to do, right? When our clients say, "Hey, like you did a great job," and this and that, like, and I kind of what you said, it kind of like hey, at my core, we're like, I kind of do, I want to do like a haircut or a fade and do it the best way possible, but at the same time, I do want to go high too, just because I don't like, there's this thing where like you don't necessarily want glory, you want to make your people happy, and
Yeah.
you find fulfillment in that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like whenever I get a haircut with like Gabe, whoever does it, I literally just sit down and I'm just like, you know you better than I do, and you can look at my head like do what you can do, like, and I let you guys just do what you do because I'm over here like I want it to be like this and like that. And I don't know, like like just do it.
Right
Make
on.
make me not look like a bobo. Like we're
Yeah.
good.
So, what would you say? What are you most thankful for, regarding your clients? What if you were to able to kind of like, let's just say you were in a room, you're in an auditorium, and all your clients are invited to this auditorium. What would you say to them?
Say thank you for giving me the opportunity to show you what I could do. Um, this is something that I really love and I'm very passionate about. And for you to give me that opportunity to express myself in this way, I just want to say thank you because there's not that many opportunities where people can kind of do this. So I just want to say thank you very much. And um, some of you out there have, driven me crazy, and some of you out there have been amazing, and some of you out there have been my best friends, and some of you out there have I wanted to hang up the phone on you. But at the end of the day, it's like you've all given me strength, and you've all taught me lessons. And I think, I just want to say thank you. That's what I would say.
Right on, right
Yeah,
on.
'cause some of them are crazy, but you know what I mean? Like you learn from them.
Uh, we appreciate the honesty. uh, do you like? I always ask, whenever I get the opportunity, whenever I remember, I ask this question because I feel like what you do, what I do, I think it has the potential to save someone's life.
Yeah.
And obviously you notice that I'm saying this in a tone where it's very real. So how do you feel knowing that you're able to bring so much value into someone's self, like, being, right? Like the way they look, the way they feel about themselves, um, and potentially save their lives, because we don't like. There's a lot of things that our clients tell us and tell you,
Yeah.
but then there's a lot of things that maybe we don't know about that kind of happens in the background, behind the scenes, you could say,
Yeah.
in their lives. So how do you feel knowing that you could bring so much, you could say, peace, sanity, um just mindfulness, and like I said, even potentially save someone's life.
I feel. I mean, it's definitely an interesting thought because I feel like yeah, like I'm there to do my craft. So when somebody comes in and they're maybe having a hard day, and I can tell, I I stop talking about myself, and then I ask questions, and then like I've had a couple clients. Like I had one client, like I didn't even cut her hair. Like she walked in and she started crying, and I just was like, let's go for a walk, and we walked around the block, and we're chatting, and I think she just needed someone to talk to. So I think it was like those moments. I've had clients pass away. That's been an interesting kind of thing because that's like I'm like wow, like I didn't like there wasn't that closure. I think it's just an interesting theme because it's like at the end of the day, it's like yeah, hairdressers are psychologists. Like we can cut like people can come in and have like a really rough day, and I'm trying to kind of do do what I do, but then still like give you some like hair therapy, like like help you out with like what's going on at home. Yeah, I mean I've had clients come in drunk to get a haircut and ask for wine, and knowing that I've had those little moments in my life, like trying to kind of give them an opportunity. So it's like I'll get them a glass of wine, but then I'll also bring them some water, and then
Take the
I'm
one.
like, have some water because like really like the cute people in the world, they always know to put a cup of water before another shot of alcohol, and then they do it, and hopefully in my head I'm like, I hope they remember that saying and it helps them in life. You know,
Yeah,
it's yeah, no, it's an interesting topic.
right on, right on. So, we're almost approaching the end of this, and I've had a lot of fun so far, just getting to know more of who you really are, and anyone watching will get to know more of who you really are. Um,
Agree.
what is something that you would like to share with the hairdressing community, the hairstylist community, that maybe you think is important, right, from your perspective, from your point of view, that maybe within your again within that hairdressing hairstylist community that you kind of want to touch on and kind of just remind everyone. Is there anything of that nature for you?
I would say everybody thinks of their salon or their barber shop as their like second home. Or I mean, at least I do. So when I do go into that space, I try my hardest to kind of go um, and keep that area positive. So I would say to anybody kind of going into a salon, it's even the clients, but ourselves, like everybody's having a rough time. So like, don't make the person next to you, have a rougher time. Like, build them up. Like, hey, do you need a comb? I'll give you a comb and this and this. But then at the end of the day, I'm not like, girl, she always takes my combs. It's like, no, 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 no. Help somebody out. Like if they need it, maybe like I'll give somebody a comb, and then the next day I'll just be like, I don't want to have it be a thing, so I'll just buy them a pack of 3 combs, and like
Yeah,
here you go. And I don't know their story, so it's just trying to kind of build everybody up and just kind of help make the space positive. I think that's what anywhere I go, the owners, whenever we have a meeting, they always say that. They're always like, whenever you work here, you always bring a positive energy, and I feel like I want that because I worked at places where it's like you walk in and I'm just like, you can see it, and it's just like there's like the girl in the corner, and I've had a girl walk up to me and she's like, you better not bring this Beverly Hills attitude because that's not who we are. And
oh,
I like walked up to her and I was like, real quick, you walked up to me with that attitude. So let's just level that out. Like I didn't even come up to you.
yeah,
So and she walked away and I like walked up to her again and I was like, really quick, when we're having a conversation, I'll let you know when it's done. But you came up to me and you like threatened me about this. So let's squash this because I don't want this to be a thing. And she was like, oh, I thought it was squashed. And I was like, well, we didn't say that it was or not. And, I leveled it out. I never want to work with anybody that I hate. Do I work with people right now that I like, want to strangle? Probably. But at the end of the day, it's like you still show them respect. And it's just, you're working with different artists.
that's right.
You have an artist that does it this way and you're doing it this way. And that might not be the way you do it, but at the end of the day, it's still art. So I feel like it's just trying to kind of find that space. Like it's a giant museum. Everybody's doing something different, but at the end of the day, we're all in a big space.
That's true. That's true. And I think you're reminding me of a key word, which is communication,
100%.
right? I think,
Action satisfaction. My husband hates that.
but just having the part to that I guess maturity to be able to communicate with each other,
Yeah.
whether we kind of hit these hurdles as a team, as co-workers. I think it's important, and I'm glad that you touched that because sometimes like we let the ego get the best of us, but being able to kind of step back and just communicate with each other, how we can become better, how can we understand each other better. I think that doesn't just do us good, but the salon or the barbershop.
Yeah.
Uh, what what and mind you, knowing you, I feel like you're gonna say you're probably gonna be like everything, but try your best.
Let's see.
What has been the most like impactful maybe moment in overall in any salon that you've been in, where there's one memory that you've been like, oh man, I remember that, and it was so cool or so fun, or it taught me one of the biggest lessons. It could be anything, but like, do you have a moment in a salon where you just you'll never forget?
Yeah, I mean, I would honestly say it was the moment when
Don't cry.
I'm not crying. The moment when my salon owner walked up to me and basically tapped me on the shoulder, and she was like, "I need to talk to you." And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And she basically just was truthful with me, and it was on the lines of earlier in Los Angeles when I had the issues with substance abuse. So I
Yeah,
think having her tell me, like, have like a one-on-one talk, it was a very interesting thing because nobody had ever had that talk with me. So hearing that at that time, it was very impactful because it was something that was going to help my career in the long run. If that talk never happened, I don't know where I would be right now. So I think that moment helped me pursue my passions even further. So I would say that was a very pivotal moment in my career because I was already doing great. I was doing everything was amazing, and then all of a sudden it was just like my feet were always dirty. Like I was like I was walking in mud,
yeah.
but and I didn't know until somebody tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Girl, get it together."
There you go. And obviously, whoever this amazing person is, shout out to her, um, or him. I don't know if it's a she or he.
It's a girl.
Um, is there anything that you would do differently?
Anything you would do differently? I thought about that. I thought about that a long time ago. No, um, because I feel like it's like I am where I am because of the things that I've done. So I think even if they're negative and even if they're not, like if I were to stay in Los Angeles and kind of do that, I never would have met my husband. If I were to stay in San Francisco and or like all these different things. So like even the negative has developed itself into a positive. So I feel like I've always lived my life that way. I don't look back and go like, oh, I wish I did this, and it's like no, 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 no. This is what happened, and this is what it is. Can I imagine something and yeah, sure, have fun and do that, but I think it's always trying to stay on that path of like this is where I'm at and kind of being happy with where you're at and kind of understanding that um like yeah it's really interesting because I hear myself say that and I'm just like I don't know I sound like it's like to me I know that I sound like Dr. Phil when I say that sometimes but it's be happy where you're at and I think that that's the thing it's like try to find those moments and kind of do that because I do deal with some depression moments sometimes and I get into my head and I kind of go into that route but at the end of the day I'm a very positive and passionate person so I think it's that yeah. It's like every day finding that passion because I think at the end of the day it's going to help you kind of go and yeah. And if my life were perfect too, that would be a really boring book, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? Like it'd be like so dumb. Like who wants to read that?
And you see, like, so this is why, I wanted to bring this up. That's why I wanted to start this barbershop talk and have salon talk because
Yeah,
there's so much. There's everyone has a story. Like I was saying, everyone's on their own different boat,
yeah,
right? And I think that's the beauty of this because no matter how artistic we are, how great we are,
yeah.
and what we do, your story matters. Your story matters. And I don't care what anybody says. Like, everyone's gonna have their own opinions on us, but everyone's story matters.
I matter.
That's right. You matter. um. So, oh man, I just lost my question here. um. Right now, there's so many hairdressers, hairstylists, hair colorists, but it could. I'm asking you a generalized question, right?
Yeah,
So in the world, but you can pick someone who's local
yeah.
or someone that's maybe on the other side of the world. But who is maybe the youngest hairdresser that you look up to, And who is the oldest hairdresser that you look up to?
The youngest hairdresser I look up to. Hmm. I think to be honest, the youngest hairdresser that I look up to is it's not just one person. I would imagine it's just anybody getting into the field that has the drive and the passion. Because I feel like that's the youngest stylist that I look up to. Like if you don't have drive or passion, like I forget your name. Like I'm just like I'll learn it eventually, you know. But I think it's like I'll learn it. You know, like I love everybody. I'll learn it. But you know, if you have drive and passion, you're my favorite stylist. I feel like that's why it's like even the younger stylists, I'm always looking at them and going like, that's cool, like that's inspiring and all of that. As far as the oldest stylist that I look up to, um, I don't want to name drop or anything because I feel like there's so many people that I've crossed paths with. I feel like the oldest stylist that I look up to would probably be the people that I've worked with that have been doing it the longest, like longer than me, because I feel like I learned so much from them. Yes, I'm trying to be very general because I know a lot of people.
You're very modest. You're very modest. I
Yeah, so I
appreciate
feel like anybody that I've ever worked with that's older than me that has been doing it longer, I learned so much from them. So
Right on. Right
I'm not gonna give names.
on. Man, you're supposed to. I'm just kidding. Um, okay. Uh, it, you know, I don't know how often you watch sports or not. I don't
Yeah,
know that. But is there any musician, any maybe athlete, or maybe someone on, on you could say on a bigger platform that you're like, you know what, like that person's story or that person's like the way that they train, the way that they find their sanity. Like, is there anyone that you can kind of like you take some of who they are, and again, I'm talking about people that are, because obviously we all have our people, our family,
yeah,
our coworkers throughout the years. But I'm talking about like a athlete or an artist or a musician that you kind of say like, I love who that person is, and I love the fact that they've helped me become better in a sense.
yeah. I would have to say, to be honest, I'm very like of the moment in that sense. So I feel like to me, my husband and I have been watching RuPaul. So it's like RuPaul's Drag Race. So I would say for me, that would be my athlete because I feel like that's a lot of work to do that. So I would say looking at that actor, drag queen, all of that, and seeing that passion, the strength. Um, she's very kind of like no shit. So I feel like that's who I am sometimes. Sometimes I can be a little harsh, but I'd rather just say it and move forward. But the one lesson that I learned from somebody was you can always be like that. Like whenever somebody's like, "Oh, I just tell it like it is," and all that, and I'm like, "Yeah, I get it," whatever. But one person told me something, and it really like resonated, and it's still practice for me. But you can always be that person, but never hammer down somebody. Like never like, oh, I tell it like it is, but like don't go out of your way to hurt somebody's feelings. Like I think always kind of understanding that realm. Like
Yeah,
tell it like it is, but still understand that there's somebody behind there. Like they
right.
might look tough, but they might be very soft, sensitive.
That's
And at
right.
the end of the day, I'm not trying to make people cry and I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. So I feel like if anybody's watching this and I've had made you cry, like that's not where I was going. And but I think that's the thing. It's like tell it like it is, but with a heart.
Right. That's right.
I would
Like
say RuPaul.
right on. Um, and I guess you could say you want to share how you feel, say what's in your heart, say what's in your mind, but you don't want to poop on anybody.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to hurt. I'm not trying to bring anybody down. Like if I can tell somebody how it is, but at the same time balance that out with bringing them up, I'm gonna. I'm gonna. I'd rather take that moment to figure that out.
Right
So
on.
I feel like it's letting somebody know, hey, you're doing it. You're doing it in a way that is very like. So whenever I'm training somebody and they're doing something, I won't be like, that's wrong. That's not how you do it. It's like that's a very interesting way that you're doing it. would you mind if I show you another way that I think might, help out with your shoulder, your elbow, and this and this? So not taking away the way that they're doing it, because I don't know, there's ways to do things, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I mean, if you're an artist, like, I'm not going to tell you how to paint. Like, do what you do. If it works, it works. But these are structured things that I could teach you that I've learned, and hopefully they can add to your repertoire. But I'm not going to tell somebody, I'm not going to tell Basquiat not to paint that way. He's going to do what he wants to do, and he works. So I think that's how I've always been.
Right on, right on. So we're almost at the end of this here.
Yeah.
And so far, it's been again super, super, super amazing having you on. And I got a couple more questions for you.
Yeah. What's up?
So, what is your biggest gift that you have, and that you share and will continue to share with everyone else?
I would say, as much as I am a person who's sarcastic and like, and I can be a little bit maybe harsh with some of the words, I still bring kindness. So I would say, like, there's those little, I love little kind gestures. So I would say I bring kindness, and I bring support. My husband's like right there looking at me probably, but I would say
You
kindness.
answer that correctly.
What would you say I bring? One word, quick. He said I'm a hard worker. I bring a lot.
I agree. You do grind. You do grind.
So it's funny. It's like I'm a grinder, but like right now, the moment it's like we're not doing anything because of this outbreak, that I feel like I'm the exact opposite. I'm just like probably one of the most laziest persons I've ever met in my life. And that's so new to me, and I'm like living for it. And I'm just like, when is this over? Like, as far as like, can I work again? Because I'm my dad. Like, I thrive when I work, but when I'm not working, I'm literally like laying on the floor, and like, somebody's putting like sandwich meat in my mouth. Just, I'm like, what is it?
Right on. I
It's
appreciate
on or
that.
off.
We appreciate the honesty. If there's a message out there that you would like to tell someone that's either in hair school, or they maybe are already in a salon, what would that message be to them? And I guess you could say, why do you share that message?
I would say, whenever you have an opportunity, take it. Even if you feel you're not going to be good at it, do it. You might not be good at it, but at the end of the day, you can say you did it. And I think that that's the funny thing. It's like, even if you go and it sucks, you've worked that out, and like you have that opportunity. My friend Colette and I had talked about it earlier. We entered a hairdressing show in Los Angeles, and it was a big expo, and it was for updos. So we signed up, and we went, and we showed up, and I set up all my stuff, and I looked left, I looked right, and it's literally people who have been doing hair for like 30 years, and they're like, I mean, it was insane. Like, and we were out of our league. Like, not even out of our league. It was like we looked like we were not even like, yeah. So I show up, and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm embarrassed," and I was like, "Fuck it, like, like we're here." So I did her hair. It looked dumb. Everybody was looking at us like, "Who are these people?" But we had a plan. I stuck with it. She got up on stage. She did her model walk. She looked so awful. And we got off. We were last place. But we drove home, and we were laughing, and we had so much fun. And I think that was that was one of my funnest memories, was that, because it was just like, yeah, we were so out of our league. like thinking about it right now, it's so embarrassing how wrong we thought, how wrong we were thinking. Like, I was like, oh, we got this, and it was like $100 for an application to enter this contest.
Oh my goodness!
It was awful.
But to your point, you did it, and I think that was like probably the biggest
Yeah, and that's what
takeaway.
you say. It's like do it, even if you don't think you're gonna be good at it. Do it. Like there's those like barber competitions, and it's like you have the winner, and then you have the person that's like didn't win last place. And in my head, it's like, oh, that guy didn't win last place, and I'm like, bitch, are you on stage? Like that person's on stage.
Yeah,
Like, get it. Like, until I see you on stage, you're not the same person. That person is better than you because they're at least trying something. So I think it's like, you might be good, but they're trying something different. So I feel like that's the thing. It's like, yeah, whenever somebody's like last place, I'm like, at least they're there.
yeah, kind of getting out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, and stretch it out. I think it's like, over time you learn. You learn from those moments, those uncomfortable moments, and you know, like I don't want to do it, and I'm nervous, and this is. It's like just do it, like just whatever. People laugh at you at the end of the day. You're still up there.
Right on. So, is there anything, just to finalize, anything else you want to kind of just get off your chest or say? Feel free to do so.
Let me see. Go to Trader Joe's probably at 7 in the morning. The line's short.
But well, is that really what you want to finish on?
No, that's what I was thinking about right now. I was like, should I go to Trader Joe's right now? And I was like, no, no, no. Go in the morning. One thing that I want to get off my chest. No, I just said like I want to create or I want to create again. I can't wait to get back to work. I'm very inspired. Um, um, yeah, my husband inspires me all the time. Every time I look at him, he
Shout out
inspires me.
Robert. Shout out Robert.
Yeah, he's in the restroom, but taking a shower. But I think that's the thing. It's like, yeah, no, I would say that. Say like I love being quarantined with him. I probably drive him crazy, but yeah, I am who I am.
Right
But
on.
then again, it's like what I'm saying. It's like you have a perfect life and it's boring. I'd rather live with somebody who has a little bit of craziness because then it ends up being every day is different. Just a touch, like
No,
boy,
I definitely feel like Robert's more sane than you.
Robert's completely sane. I know I drive him crazy. I know I drive him crazy. But again, it would be a boring
Yes.
marriage if
Yes.
everything was
You need
like,
someone to
oh,
balance you, right?
unless he wants that.
You need someone to balance you.
Yeah, babe, do you want it easy or no? No, he's not answering.
um. So, just to conclude here, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Um, we've been here with Ernesto Meneses from Los Angeles, California, who's currently now in SF. Um, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing some of your, I know there's more to you. I know there's more to your story, but I just want to say thank you for sharing, what you could during this time.
Yeah,
And, you know, is there, I know anyone who wants to follow Ernesto, I will tag his name on here. Um, super, super talented individual. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being on, dude.
thank you. I really appreciate this. I feel like I want to interview you now. I feel like I've been talking so much.
No, it's all good. Thing like again, this is your story, and you've been blessed. No matter what has happened in your life, you've been blessed with great people, great humans. No matter what the outcome has been, you've been blessed to still be where you're at now. And shout out to everyone who's contributed to your life.
Agreed.
So thank you. Blessings to you. Blessings to Robert. Blessings to your household. I can't wait to, just like you, I can't wait to be back at the barbershop. I can't wait for you to be back at the salon and, doing what you do.
Same.
Thank you, dude. So peace. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you soon.
Awesome. I'll see you soon.
All right, dude. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.